How are we doing, Matt? Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
This is a bit like deja vu. I was literally speaking to you on Sunday.
I know. Do you know what's really weird as well?
What's
I
that?
wasn't expecting you to be that tall.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, right, he's good looking. He can't be tall as well.
Mate.
He's fucking rocked up. And I was like, yeah, what the fuck? But I'm going to do what I do in every pod. I'm going to jump right in with the first question, which I ask all my guests.
Yeah.
And it's, what is your earliest memory of alcohol? So that can be like drinking it, being around it. And can you tell us a little bit about how that made you feel?
Yeah, so the earliest time that I remember, like, even trying alcohol, I think I must have been like 11, 12. It was pretty much like, do you know when your parents would have like a barbecue and like you'd be like, oh, I think I'm really hard, and you sort of go and get like the empty or like a little bit left. And I remember camping. We used to camp like a bit when we was younger. And I remember my dad had like some Fosters, and I was like, "Can I try some?" And I had some, and I fucking hated it. I was like, "This is disgusting. Like, well, how can you drink this shit?" But then he'd be like, "Yeah, but you'll get used to that taste the older you get." And like, lo and behold, it was like sort of got to 17, and I was like, "Oh, I actually like the taste of alcohol. It's really good." But so that was my earliest. But like, I'd say when I first started drinking like properly was probably when I was like 17.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like it's very funny. I was very like anti going out, anti drugs, anti this, because like my auntie died of drugs. So like in my family, like it was very sort of like my parents would see a spliff as a crack pipe. Like it was just like there was no in between. It was like drugs are drugs, drugs will kill you. This is that. So I was very sort of like didn't want to hang around certain people that were out and partying and quite sheltered, really, I'd say. But yeah, it got to like 17, and I think I struggled a lot with my weight, and I've struggled with body dysmorphia for a long time. So it was kind of like I started losing weight. Do you know what I mean? Like you're young and you have like puppy fat and stuff like that. And I sort of had that, but I was just like a big boy. Like I used to be able to play rugby and shit like that. And then gradually I started losing weight. And over a summer holiday, just before I was going into like, I think it was like the first year of sixth form, I just fucking, the weight just poured off me, and like I just had this like confidence all of a sudden because like girls started fancying me and they wanted to talk to me, and I wasn't just this like fucking blob that people used to think. Do you know what I mean? Like I actually could speak to people, and a few of my pals would have like little house parties, and then it was like go to like underage like nightclubs. There was one called Manor Club. And it was like all indie music, and I was a proper like indie Cindy back then, like long hair, like deep V fucking t-shirts, like cowboy boots, like skinny jeans. You can borrow them if you want to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I started going to these clubs, and then that was it. As soon as I started having alcohol, and I started getting this more confidence, and it was just like this, like I've said before, it was like Popeye with his spinach. It was just like fucking guzzle that down, and I just felt like a new man. Do you know what I mean?
So it wasn't a case of, because you sort of said you got confident when you lost the weight, but was the alcohol like that additional bit of confidence?
For sure, because the confidence was there, but it was more in terms of like only when I got reactions from other people, if that makes sense. So with my weight loss, it was just like, oh, the girls are saying like nice compliments about me and stuff like that. So that made me feel good. But it was like, how can I then take this a little bit further? How can I then sort of like be this person who just dances and will just talk shit to people? And as soon as alcohol came about, it was just like, that was that next level.
What would you say your relationship was like? You know, like the first time you drunk, would you say you had, it's weird, isn't it? Because I always ask this question, like, did you say you had a healthy relationship? But what the fuck is a healthy relationship with alcohol?
Exactly.
But what would you say your relationship was like initially? Like at that age?
Initially, it was more just for fun. I think it was more to just be part of the crowd, and it was exciting. You know, I always feel like life's obviously like it's full of different chapters, and like that chapter in itself was like when I started going out, when I started becoming like an adult. Do you know what I mean? In my eyes, because I was drinking alcohol and I was going to these clubs and I was mingling with older people. But yeah, I'd say my relationship was more of a fun thing. It was enjoyable. It was like maintainable as well. Like it was like, you know, I'd do it like once a week but it was a thing. Everyone would make it a thing that you meet up with your pals, go to Weatherspoons, get a few jars of fucking woo-woos and all that. Do you know what I mean? So the relationship was, I'd say, just like a normal teenager.
The typical UK sort of growing up. And I find that mad interesting as well, because I relate. I mean, we have such a similar story, and like everyone who comes on the podcast, every time I ask that question, it's almost like a carbon copy of like, you know, their early introduction to alcohol. But how did your relationship progress through the years? So like, for example, another milestone that I like to talk about is when people started working. You know, how did your relationship obviously got to a point eventually where it was dark, you know, it must have been awful for you to make a change. But from that point of being like 17 to the point of when you stopped drinking, how did your drinking change, and and drugs, you know, when did they get introduced?
So drinking changed, I'd say, especially over my uni days, because I was a bit of. It's hard to explain. I've kind of like didn't have interest in the actual subject material itself. It was more the fact that I could go and sit in the fucking the student union bar and no one could bother me. Like it was like I literally felt like I had the keys and accessibility to loads of things now, and it was just like, oh, I'm just going to try them. Then I don't have to sit in a lesson. I was going to get pissed in the afternoon. So I think over my uni days it did change up a lot because there was more nights. There was different things going on during the week, and weekdays were like my go-to. Like where I went to university, it was a local university because I won't go into detail, but I like trial and error, like fucking different unis. Left Portsmouth University because my first girlfriend at the time come and visited me, and I was like, I can't live without you. I was like, I need to come home after 2 weeks. So I just ended up going to like a local university because I was going out and I met the first years on it was like a fashion promotion course. And they were really cool, and I was like, yeah, these are a cool crowd. Like they seemed a bit older than me as well, because a lot of them were like from big cities and stuff, and they'd come to this like little shitty town where I lived. So yeah, like the alcohol situation was a lot of partying. Like didn't feel it was very dark, but then when I sort of like think about it, it was like I just said, going on my own to the student union bar and like fucking just getting smashed on my own and then going to lessons like drunk and stuff like that. So when you look back, there's kind of these like tipping points that started to do that. And funny enough, I was talking to a friend the other day about when the year above me graduated. So I was really close to the year above me because obviously I'd like made friends and that before I started. And it was their graduation day, and I was just like, do you know what would be a really good idea? I'm just going to go into town and I'm going to sit in Wetherspoons from midday and just get absolutely smashed, and then hopefully everyone will just want to join in with me. It'd be really funny. So it was just like, I just started drinking, and then it was like pints, and then I went on to like whiskies, and my drinking was very quick. I was a quick drinker, so I'd smash drinks like it was fucking pints of water. Like I didn't think nothing of it. So I'm just doing this, drinking whiskey. So I didn't want to feel bloated. That was my excuse as well. I don't want to drink beers. I drink spirits. So yeah, just getting smashed up. And then my mates that I was with, they were like, we're going to go home now. Like this wasn't the uni lot. This was like my hometown friends. I was like, oh, I'm just going to stay down here. So I ended up just staying down the high street, just standing on the high street, seeing like families with their like fucking kids that just graduated who I knew. And I'm like, oh, you're right, that's the guy who gave us that fucking drink. They're like, no, we're good, Matt. Like, we're having a nice time with our family. We're going to go for a really like dignified dinner. So then I went and met two friends of mine, ended up spilling red wine over her fucking gown. And then I went to a Thai restaurant and on my own, and I just ended up going upstairs to the toilet, and I fell asleep in the toilet cubicles, and I had the bloke like knocking on the door like, mister, your food's ready downstairs, and I'm just like laid out like probably fucking zipper undone and that. But yeah, that was just me. I just always felt that I had to take things to the extreme all the time. I couldn't just do casual drinking. It was more like we're either going to go for drinks or not. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to go for a drink. I was in my head, I'm like, what's the point in going for a drink? The whole point of drinking is to feel something.
Yeah. I think that's so true. Like, I resonate massively with what you're saying. And someone said something to me today, actually, about like, you don't get addicted to the drink. First of all, you get addicted to the feeling that the drink's giving you. Do you know what I mean? And then like, you're chasing that. And I think, you know, I've had so many stories I could talk about when I'm thinking about falling asleep in places as well. But I think that's a really interesting point. Like, I don't think people understand that when you say, like, when people say have one, you know, that common thing of like, why don't you have one drink? For me, it sounds the same as you. I never wanted one drink. Like, I was doing it to get totally fucked. I mean, how was that the similar situation?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I didn't. Like I say to people, I didn't romanticize the idea of drinking. I didn't romanticize the idea of sitting in a restaurant drinking a nice glass of red to go with my steak or my fucking Italian dish or a white wine to go with my fish dinner. Do you know what I mean? I didn't care what it was as long as it got me drunk. Like I didn't have that. I wish I did because I think it would have pulled me out a lot of holes and I could have just savoured that taste. But it was just, I just don't know. Like it was like the inner me. I just feel like I wasn't happy in myself. I didn't like who I was. I felt like I was boring. I didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I felt. And this was like medicine. This was like good. This gave me that courage and wanted to talk and wanted to act up and be confident. And I was just quite a lonely person. And I feel that's what's, I know I'm going from one subject to another, but I think that's why sobriety has been very difficult, because I feel that I generally was, when I look back, just a bit of a fucking loner. Like I was, like I didn't have anyone. I didn't feel I did. Do you know what I mean? Like I just felt like I was so away from everything, and my family, my friends, people who didn't understand what I was doing. Like I thought they were boring, like they didn't want to be a part of it, or they were judging me. I always felt that idea in like relationships that partners were judging me. Like I hated the fact that they were on like a moral high horse and I was down there, but they weren't. They were just like identifying problems. But me being me, insecure in my own self, was like, everyone's out to get me, everyone hates me, everyone doesn't want me to have fun, and why can't I do this, and what's the matter with me going out and having some drinks, and I'm not causing any trouble, I'm not killing anyone. Do you know what I mean? And that was the problem. I think even with my family, like my mum has been very protective of me, like as a kid and growing up, and she always wanted what's best for me, like any sort of parent should for their child. But I just abused their love. Like I abused a lot of people's love. I felt like, how far can I push things? How far can I do this? It was like, give me attention. But then when you give me the attention and tell me something, I don't want to know. Like, it's like, I don't care. But do you know what I mean? It was just like, it felt like that a lot. And I just feel like I'm just a huge, like, lone wolf. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, and that's the hardest thing about this whole situation at the moment, is because I don't know what I am or what I'm doing. And I don't know who I am. Do you know what I mean? And that really kills me, because it's like, well, what the fuck did you do for 15 years?
Yeah, but I think that's like an opportunity. Like, so when people say that, I always say to people, look at that second chance you've got. Like, not many people get a second chance. How old are you?
34.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
Yeah. But I mean, like, a lot of people do what we're doing at like 60, 70, and they look back and they're like, what the fuck have I done? Whereas like, I think this is an exciting opportunity, and I'm the same, man. We're both on Instagram, we've both got podcasts talking about it, but we're talking openly, and no one has it figured out, I don't think. And I think like there's a side of Instagram and there's a side of sobriety where a lot of people are acting like they've got it all together, and it's like, I think it's hard. I think it's a brave thing to do. Like, what you're doing is very brave and honourable. Like, you've made a change. But I think another interesting point you made was like, you kind of knew deep down it was a problem almost, but every time it got brought up, did you feel like, you said like, I don't want to know. I know deep down, because that's how I felt. Did you feel similar?
Yeah, I didn't want it pointed out. I didn't want the one thing that made me feel special and happy and stuff to sort of, it's like dangling a carrot, isn't it? Like, it's just like something that's so bad for you, but you need to get rid of it, but you're still dangling that carrot, and you're like, I don't want to get rid of it though, because I need that carrot. It's like the drugs are like that. Like, I don't want to keep doing it, but I need to keep doing it. Do you know what I mean? It was, it was just, I don't know. I pushed it too far. I think that's the annoying thing, is I could have just enjoyed it, because I had some fucking laughs, man. Like, and I met some people, and I, fuck me, if I didn't have those things that happened, like, I wouldn't have much of a podcast. I wouldn't have much content to talk about. Do you know what I mean? Because I've lived it, like you've lived it. I've been through it, and I had to live through it, which is why even when you see questions and stuff on podcasts, and it was like, so what would you say to your younger self? And it's, I'd say, like, push through, do it, because I feel that you have to hit rock bottom to then come out of it and get to the top. I really do. I feel like you need to test yourself. You need to go in those situations. You need to have the breakups, have the fucking rejection, have the come downs, have the fucking feeling shit, like lose friends. You have to lose everything to then gain something. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's how I felt. I didn't, like, obviously have children that I lost or a marriage that broke down, but mentally I had a lot of things that I lost. I lost me. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the biggest thing. But I feel that I had to do it. I won't go back and change anything, put it that way. Like,
I totally agree, actually, because I think that makes you the person you are today. Like, it sounds weird, right? But getting that fucked up all the time, constantly just like living life in like fight mode, and you're like white knuckling life almost, aren't you? It kind of builds your resilience, so that when you've got these challenges that you're going through in sobriety, I always draw back on the times that I'm thinking like, fucking hell, do you remember the time I didn't sleep for like 3 days and just went to work? And then you're like, yeah, actually, I've got through that. I got through life when like life was, I was struggling mentally and I was fucked up. So like, when you think about the sobriety side of things, obviously you can feel your feelings a lot more, but you think like, I've been through worse.
Yeah.
And I think you're so right, because like you said, people say, "Oh, I wish I went back and changed everything," but then you wouldn't be here today. No. You know, talking about your sobriety journey.
Bastard out there. It's just like pairing wines with steaks. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, I do. I feel like it has definitely built me as a character, but I'm very fortunate that I didn't lose my core friends. Like, I've still got the same group of friends. Like, and everyone's been so supportive. Like, my family's still there. Like, I'm very happy with what has happened as a result of me going sober. And, you know, I think also it's all about trusting the process, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think my problem is I've always put too much pressure on myself. Like, everything needs to be a success. Everything needs to be working like now. And I think now with a different mentality and mindset, like, I'm able to evaluate things a lot better, and I'm able to sort of break things down and be like, oh, cool. Oh, well, this didn't work, so we're going to try this. And it might take a bit while. It might take a long time to do this, but we're going to do it. Like, it's a process. And like I said to you the other day, it's a mourning process. Like, you're mourning that other person you had. Like, you was married to that person. That person, like, was engaged to you for a long time and controlled your narrative. And now your narrative's completely different. Like, you haven't got that navigation from someone else sort of like leading you the way or astray. So, yeah, you just got to remember that, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was something that we did for so long, and it ain't just going to just fuck off overnight. Like, it's going to take time. Like, it's like a fucking, like, a cancerous cell. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like you sort of like getting rid of it and getting rid of it and getting it. You might have to keep going back for like operations and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But mentally, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm just chiseling away at it.
I think, that's a good analogy. And I think another way to talk about it is like, you know, you said you lost weight. It's like, you don't just wake up one morning after one gym session and all of a sudden you're in the best shape of your life.
I wish we fucking did.
Yeah, but easy, wouldn't it? I wouldn't bother. I go every day and I'm not in the shape of my life.
No, mate, same. I think it's more up here. That's what it's best. Like.
But it's true. Like, you got to stick with it. I guess you touched on it a little bit there. You spoke about sort of the drug side of things as well. So at what point did that get introduced? And then, you know, because how long you been sober for?
Just gone 1 year and 6 months.
Yeah, so there's still a big chunk of time, I think, in your story where obviously, you know, drugs got introduced and you got to that point that was sort of, I guess you said, your rock bottom as well. You know, so when did drugs start to come part of the story?
Drugs came into it, I'd say, at around the age of 20, 21. I think it was 21 because I think it was my 21st birthday that we was just going to like the local club and someone had bought some gear with them. And I don't know, like, cocaine to me was just this like high flyer thing. It was just like an unheard like myth because none of my fucking lot were going to afford to pay for any of that. Do you know what I mean? So it was just like an unknown sort of thing. But someone had brought a bag with them, ended up doing a line. I did like one line and that was me for the whole night. And I was just like, what is this feeling? I was just like, I can't feel my face. I was just like, it was probably all this shit that was in it. But it was just like euphoric. It was different. It was just like, wow, what's this new high? Like, this is cool. Like, I'm sort of a bit bored of the drinking side of things now. But yeah, so that sort of went on from there. And like, I would sort of here and there do it. I think it was when I started working up in London. I think that was the same year. And obviously I started getting like an actual salary and I started earning some money, and it was just like sort of getting it here and there when we could. Like, it wasn't like an every weekend thing. It was just more like a special occasion thing. You'd go halves in with a mate. But in the meantime, it was like I was trying like MDMA. Like, it was just like a snowball effect. It was literally as soon as I like had gear, like Coke, I was just like, well, what else is there? And it'd be like, oh, we're at a rave. Like, have one of these, have a little dab of that, put that in your mouth. I was like, fuck me, like, this is incredible. Like, it was just amazing. So that kind of like went from there. But it's like they say, it's like God's trying to tell you you've got too much money when you're buying cocaine. And that's how it got. I was literally just like buying it every weekend. Or every time I went out. So it could be 3 times a week. It could be like twice a week. It was any time that I was having a drink, I was doing gear. Like, it was like literally as if they were like joined at the hip. And I couldn't have one without the other. Like, I would never do gear sober. That was just fucking weird to me. And I had done it like sort of a couple of times. It just makes you jittery and a bit weird, and it was just like it wasn't nice. But yeah, it kind of got to the point where I had to. It's like my brain said to me, "You need to drink at least 4 or 5 pints, and then we can call it on." And it was just like, okay, we'll neck these, get this down. And so, you know, I'd drink like that within like an hour and a half, and I'd be like on that level. And I'm like, oh, I feel quite pissed now, obviously because you just drank in an hour and a half 5 pints. So then that was, it sort of proceeded on to me then wanting to like pick up, and yeah, it was just like, because it was all new to me at the start. It was even weird, like just picking up. Like I never picked up before. Do you know what I mean? Like sorting that out and asking people for numbers. Do you know what I mean? And like having the chat. And then it was like, hi mate, like my mate so-and-so said that you blah, blah, blah. Just it's just like that like entry into a drug dealer's like a phone book as if you knew one of their people already. And yeah, it became like fun and games from there. And because it was so easy to get in London, it was so quick. And because I knew that was how quick it was, like me being the impatient bastard that I am, perfect. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be there in 15 minutes. Cushy. That gives me time to have a few more beers. It's going to be there. And then it got to a point where I enjoyed picking up. Picking up was like a buzz for me. I really fucking enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than the actual doing the drugs sometimes, because you know, you're going to meet this like random person in a random car, and like, you know, you're like planning it out like it's like a fucking like SAS mission. Do you know what I mean? Like, I will meet you here and I'll make sure you're there, and what you're driving, what you're looking at, blah blah blah, flash your lights. And it was just fun, man. I just enjoyed that part of it, and then it became like Matt was the one with drugs. Matt, I sorted it out for you.
Yeah,
like, as if I was like Tony Soprano or something. Do you know what I mean? Like this like kid from like a fucking small town in Medway. But it was just this like a whole fucking buzz. And then you starting to learn more about how music and drugs went hand in hand. Like you go to festivals and it was more exotic. So your choice of drug would be a bit more like out there and leery, and you'd be a bit like, oh, so I don't really want to do coke at a festival. What else can I do? Oh, do a 2CB, do like some ecstasy. And it was, you know what I mean? It was just that it became like this like cocktail of drugs that you do at a festival, and everyone else was on just a buzz. And you know, I remember once going to a festival and we dressed up as Vikings, and we was like, you can, well, I'll get this sword out only for Ket. And people just doing like bangs of Ket, like first thing in the morning in a tent, and like all, it's just, when you think it's disgusting, but at the time
funny,
it was fucking brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And like, when you double drop and you're starting to gag reflex because you feel like your body's going to throw everything up, and just all these like new experiences, like it was just wild. But I loved it at the time, but it was when it started becoming more on my own. That's when it became weird. You know, for years I used to take myself to the pub on my own. I would just go and sit on my own in a pub and just drink. And, you know, I think that's fine as it is, but not to get fucked and then go and pick up drugs and then do the drugs there and do it on your own, or go and meet drug dealers in the middle of nowhere where you don't know where you are, and in random pubs that you don't even know the area, and just to wait around to get gear and talking to fucking random people. And yeah, it just became very like seedy. That's to put it plainly.
Did you feel that change happening? Like, did you, or was it? Did it happen and you all of a sudden were like?
I think it was more. I just felt like I'd have more fun at home on my own. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't find it fun. I found it more fun going home with 2 grams of gear, watching Pornhub for about 4 hours, trying to like fucking knock one out and not happening, and like just like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
just like sitting there with music on and smoking fucking fags and fags and fags and fags and writing poetry. That's what I used to sit and write poetry. I'd like Nas Illmatic would be playing on in the background, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll just write this out. And it could be about anything. It could be about like my loved ones, my sister, the girl that I was with at the time. Like I'll just sit there and just like fucking write the tons of shit. But yeah, that was like, I got excited about it. I got excited sitting there watching Pornhub and doing lines and then putting another video on and doing that. But that was fine when I was living on my own. But like when I was at my parents', it was like, I used to be so secretive. Like I'd block. Basically, they used to have a stairway, and there was a door at the bottom of the stairway, and I used to make sure that there was like a blockade next to the door. So then if they banged the blockade, I'd hear it, and then I could like quickly just like I used to always like make sure there was like a magazine near where I was sitting, so I could just put the magazine on top of the lines, and then I'd just sit there and like, all right, Dad, like this. Like they'd be like, "You're not going to bed yet?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just watching this film." Yeah, it was just like a lot of that, and like making sure that I knew exactly where the floorboards creaked. So I'd like tiptoe over certain things. Imagine looking through the window and seeing me in my fucking pants, like just walking along like that, like fucking T-Rex. And like when I was with partners, I lived with one of them, and she'd be in bed, and I would want more gear. She didn't know I was doing it, by the way. Like I used to like lie. Lying was the biggest thing for me. I used to lie so much, bruv, like all the time with gear, drinking, But I'd come in from a night out and she'd be in bed. And I remember like getting it delivered through the window, like through the top of the window, because I didn't want her to hear the door. Or there was times where partners would go, especially this one, she'd be like, please don't come back fucked up. Like, if you're fucked up, don't come back. And so I used to take that literally. I used to be like, so what you're telling me is I can stay out and like, it's fine because I'm doing what I'm respecting your choice of what you've said. So I'm going to stay out. Mate, the amount of shit hotel, I could name you so many hotels in King's Cross that I've stayed in.
Just off the top of your head, yeah.
Just real shit hotels, like filthy hotels. But I went for a phase of just doing that all the time. Every time we used to go out, just go and get a hotel. Like, I didn't have the money to do that, but I'd go and stay in these grotty places. And I remember when I stayed at one hotel, it's quite a funny story actually. This was near where I lived. So that was even worse. I was near where I lived and I wasn't even going home. I got to this hotel, got up to my room. The room was all unmade, and I went down the stairs. I was like, "Look, it's a shithole. Like, well, can you just get someone just to make the bed or do it? Just make the bed. I'm not going to sleep anyway. But fucking can you make it." Next thing you know, like I'm sitting in bed, and I hear this smash, smash, smash. I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, fucking buckled. Look out the window. Some geezer's walking around every window downstairs in the hotel from outside and smashing the windows through with a hammer. I was like, what is going on? So I go down to reception. I was like, what's happened? They're like, there's this man who's just gone crazy. He's smashed all the windows in. I was like, right. I literally thought I was in Call of Duty. I grabbed a parasol and I was following his blood trail around the hotel. And there was one other geezer with me. He was obviously sober. I wasn't. I thought I was doing hand gestures. I was like, stop, follow. I was doing this. And then some fucking armed police turned up with like the body fucking bulletproofs on. And I'm trying to talk to them like that. I was like, just shit like that, mate. Like, just fucking getting myself into the right pickles. But yeah, I just didn't, I don't know. Maybe it was just more, I always say that I wasn't good at communicating. I couldn't communicate for shit. I couldn't talk about things. And that was just the easy escape for me. And like I've said before in videos and stuff, it was self-sabotage. I would cause so much havoc for someone that it was down to them to then make a decision to call it off.
Yeah.
So then I felt the better person because I was like, well, I didn't call it off. Yeah. Instead of talking about my problems and saying like, maybe this isn't working, I'm finding it really hard at the moment. You know, I love you to pieces, but I just don't want to hurt you. Do you know what I mean? And maybe we can sort of say it. Maybe we could move out. Maybe we could give each other space or time. No, I was just like, I'm just going to get fucked. I'm going to like pretend that I'm not seeing your phone calls. And you're going to see Instagram stories of me out still. And then I'm still going to ignore you when you're trying to ring me. It was just horrible for like, especially this ex that I'm not naming who she is and stuff. But I caused her so much pain, man. Do you know what I mean? And like, I've got to live with that. And even like exes before, like I've like, fucking being a dick because of that shit. Do you know what I mean? Like I just push things to the extreme and like just hurtful. But this whole project that I've been doing, the high sobriety and the sobriety stuff, has just been great as well because people have reached out. Like I've had exes, like that ex reached out to me and was like, well done, I'm really proud of you for doing this and blah, blah, blah. So it does work and people can change. Do you know what I mean? Like they can change. I think that's the biggest thing that I wanted to say on this was just like, you've still got time. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even though I feel like I wasted a lot of time, but I've still got loads of time left. And the fact that I can make these changes and I'm making positive changes, and I'm trying to help people. And that's all I really want to do now, bro. Do you know what I mean? Is just like help people out. Yeah, which is why I love doing what I'm doing, and that's why I want to make it like an actual thing, like yourself, mate. Like it's big love to you as well. Like it's so nice to meet other people doing this sort of thing because it's not easy to retrace your step and look back on stuff and talk about things. And you know, a lot of people don't want to share their stories, but I just feel like, especially men,
100%,
to talk about their emotions and mental health and stuff like that. I just think it's so difficult for a lot of them to want to do it, and I think people like ourselves, like young blokes, who want to talk about it, do you know what I mean? And aren't afraid to like highlight where they went wrong and what they can do to then sort of like get better. And
I think as well, like you like got it bang on with the. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was ever taught how to regulate my emotions. I don't think I ever knew that there was another way to. So when I was feeling stressed or anxious, or for example, you know, you mentioned it, like if I wanted someone to leave me for whatever reason, you know, it could have been a friend, a family member, an ex-girlfriend, whatever it was, I was like, well, let me like push them away, but I don't want to accept. I didn't want to hurt anyone, so it's a weird backwards mentality because actually I'm prolonging that anyway. But I didn't have the balls, or I think it was the self-confidence. I didn't have the self-confidence to be like, this situation isn't right for me. I wanted someone to say, oh, you're not good enough, and then I'd be like, oh, well, you're the problem then, you know, like exactly what you said. I'd never wanted to take responsibility for any of my actions. So if I could fuck everything up as much as I could, to the point where they were like, no, we're washing your hands with you, you're done. You know, but I think, like you said, hopefully by us talking and having these conversations, it's going to be like the next generation of men growing up, and they'll be able to say, oh, fuck, like, because they're probably looking up to people. You don't realise, like, when I was younger, I'd look up to my dad and older people that I worked in construction and still do. Everyone in that industry as a role model is the guy who sits in the pub, you know, and fucking drinks. And I think, oh, I can't wait to be like them. Like when I get older.
Yeah, because you think they've got it together.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like,
he's got a job he hates. He drinks a lot.
Doesn't go into the kids. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Calls his wife a load of fucking jip.
At work he's saying, "Oh, you know, this isn't my dad, by the way." This is just to clear that up. But they're talking about like, you know, at work. Oh, she's doing my head in again. It's like, she's probably doing your head in because you ain't gone home for 4 days. You're not helping out with the kids. Like,
no.
You're not actually being a stand-up man, you know. But
You're not being a role model.
Yeah, but when I was younger, I used to think, God, that'd be quality. Like just sit in the pub all day.
Yeah. Well, that's how I thought. Do you know what I mean? Even as a fucking grown man, it was just something about it. It just, the pub to me was like a safe. Like it was like a bubble. It was a safe place for me to act how I wanted and knowingly see other blokes a lot worse than what I am.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I could sit there and drink 5, 6, 7 pints. There's always gonna be another geezer in there that's been there since the morning and is even more drunk than you are. So the attention's not on you, even if you're a bit of a knobhead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like the comparison thing. The comparison thing is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You'd always compare yourself.
And it's always someone worse than you, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
No matter how bad you are, the world's a big place, and there's going to be someone worse.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, was you, because I was quite high functioning, you know, did it look like from the outside you had everything together?
Yeah, I reckon so, because I think work would have maybe said something, friends and family, like my friends did say, like especially my friend Jack would say a lot to me, like, you need to rein it in a little bit, mate. And like Jack loved to go out and party and stuff, but for him to say that to me, but I would just take it as a pinch of salt with him. I'd be like, oh, shut up, mate. Like, you know, you fucking used to do this, that and the other and blah, 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 which I shouldn't have done. You know what I mean? I should listen. But I was functioning, but I wasn't. Like, I wouldn't go into work sometimes. I used to lie, like, bad. Like when my granddad was really sick, he was a big excuse for me for not going to work, even though it shouldn't have been a using excuse. It's because I was hanging on a massive come down. Always grandparents.
Yeah.
Nan's not well, can't come in. Granddad's not well, he's been rushed to hospital. He hadn't been rushed to hospital. I was lying.
Just lying.
Missing flights for work. I used to do that because I had a thing about getting fucked the night before a flight. Don't know why, but I used to do that. And it was like, do you know what the problem was? The problem was that I'd been given so many chances throughout life, and I didn't really have that true kick up the arse, because I knew that even if I miss my flight, the worst that's going to happen is they're going to book me another flight, and then it would just come out of my wages.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm still not lost my job.
Of a consequence.
Yeah, it wasn't like mum and dad. I used to always have to borrow money from my parents, but I'd just pretend that I needed to get food. I need to do this. So I always knew I had money. Yeah. I always knew I was going to have my job. Like, because in my industry, there's always a worse person than me in terms of behaviour. They've heard worse stories. Do you know what I mean? Because the fashion industry is full of fucking partying and sex, drugs and rock and roll. But I didn't, and I always knew my friends were going to come back. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think the reason for me when I stopped drinking was because my ex, because we was engaged, all happened very quickly. And again, I just had this problem when I was drinking and using that. I would just move so quickly with stuff because I needed external validation all the time. I needed to be told that I was good enough and that I was loved and that I was good looking, and because I was still not confident. The drugs and alcohol gives you confidence, but it strips your confidence, because that becomes your confidence. It's not you, it's the substance. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
So as soon as that's gone, you're not confident. You're nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's the substance that gave you that fucking confidence. The substance, what is the confidence? It's not you with the substance. It's the substance. So I had to stop last year because like I've said before in videos and stuff, the problem was the alcohol. Like, we would get into arguments over stuff. I was just a dick. Like, there was shit that I did and said that I shouldn't have done. And we had a massive argument my birthday last year, which was the 3rd of January. And then I went off to my parents because I was just like, I'm just going to go to my mum and dad's and they're going to look after me. So I went to mum and dad's, and then the next day I texted her being like, because we was living with each other as well. I texted her and I was just like, well, can we talk? I want to sort this out. I was in a bad way. I was at floods of tears the night before, and it was over something stupid as well. Like, we'd gone out for drinks and something to eat. And she said to me in a bar, she was just like, let's not try and get into an argument tonight, which didn't need to be said.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But justifiably, like, I didn't need to react the way that I reacted. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we're out, it's my birthday, and you're trying to put a negative already. You're already, like, foreseeing something that's not even happened, and blah, 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 blah. So that, like, anything. Problem with me when I had a drink, like, I wouldn't back down in an argument. So it was like I had to keep going. Whereas it's sober, I'd be like, cool, no worries.
Just leave it there.
So that happened. So I went back to hers and had a chat with her the next day. And she'd written out like 6 different occasions where I'd like acted up, said something stupid, and I was pissed. And I said to her, I was just like, look, I don't want to hurt you no more. I'm going to stop drinking from tomorrow. So that was it. I just went cold turkey, just stopped. But I don't really feel like I started my sobriety until we broke up and I moved back into my flat.
Yeah.
So that was December. So we broke up in September. I had to live with my parents for a couple of months because my sister was in my flat. And then when she moved out and I moved back into mine, it's because I felt alone. And it's the first time I'd felt alone for a long time. And I was alone with my thoughts. Because in a relationship, you've got someone there and you can just talk about shit. Or like, do you know what I mean? You've got things to keep you occupied.
Yeah.
Sitting in your flat on your own, sober, in a flat where you used to sit and fucking like scrape gear off the floor to make lines up with, or like, do you know what I mean? It was such a weird contrast. It was like, okay, cool, so this is what sobriety is.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it actually felt like I'd started my sobriety in December. So that was tough, man. That was real tough. And coming out of like, glad that the relationship ended because it just wasn't working. It just got bad on both sides, and I think it was just the best for both of us. But it was just hard coming from, a lot happened last year. Do you know what I mean? And there was a lot of like living in different places and a lot of shit had just happened. So I don't really feel that I felt my sobriety. And then, yeah, as soon as I come back home to mine, I was like, okay, so I've now got to sit with my thoughts for a while and I've got to try and figure stuff out. And that's where the podcast happened. I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to fucking use this and I'm just going to try and talk about my shit and get it off. Because it was like therapy, mate. Do you know what I
mean?
Yeah, 100%. So that all started up. And that's when I first started like experiencing actual stuff. Like, you know, like I said, like the loneliness, like the fear of missing out, the being in your own head and, you know, start writing shit down and like setting my goals for 2024 in January and reaching milestones and feeling love and feeling like part of a community and feeling that you're amongst people that actually get what you're on about and you can relate to so much stuff instead of just listening to, you know, I was listening to like podcasts here and there, like Dapper Laughs was like a big one that I started listening to because he was like a normal geezer, like Soberitey, I was listening to him. But then when you start breaking through the surface, there's so many other people and you're like, fuck, and I'm just, it's like mad love in the sober community, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like everyone just wants to fucking help each other out. Like, obviously, there's gatekeepers like there is in any community. There's going to be fucking idiots that you don't agree with. There's going to be amazing people that you do. And it's just down for you to sieve through like what you need to get from it. But it's just been remarkable, man. Like, just so many people just want to help you out. And like, even with what we do, it's just great. Like, people want to come onto your show. People want to help you out. People are like, yeah, I know someone who knows someone that could get you doing this, or you can be a talker at this event, and it's been like a breath of fresh air, mate, because I needed purpose.
Yeah, 100%.
And I feel like I've got that, and I've not had purpose for a long time. Like I've like I said to you earlier, I felt like a lone wolf who was just like navigating blindly through life. and would just keep going back or reverting back to what he knew was best for escapism. That's all it was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was unhappy, and I was lost. So I'd revert back to what I could trust, which was drugs and alcohol. I knew how much it was going to cost, what the effects were going to be, and where it was going to take me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I loved that feeling. I knew what I was going to end up doing. I knew that I was going to go home. I knew what I was going to do when I was at home. Brilliant. And then I'll deal with the next day when it comes. I'll deal with it. There's no point thinking about it now. So yeah, it's been wild, man.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, man. I totally agree with the sober community as well. I didn't realize there was this little corner of the world that is so supportive. And like you said, people offer you advice, help, and it's for nothing in return. Like before when I was using and drinking, it was always like, if I give you these little bit of drugs, like we'll go back to yours, or like if you come back to mine, but if you've got drugs, or like there was always a trade-off. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was like, or I'll pay for your night out tonight because I know you ain't got any money, but like when I ain't got any money, you've got to pay for my night out. But it's like now it's like I genuinely, if I see someone wanting to better themselves, I'm just like, yeah, I'm all for that, and I'll do anything I can to help them. And I think you touched on it there, but what would you say has been like your biggest challenge that you've faced since going sober, and how have you overcome it?
I mean, it's a challenge which I haven't overcome yet, but I'm hoping to at some point. It's finding out who I am.
Yeah.
And it's finding out my full potential. That's two of the biggest things that I'm trying to figure out at the moment, because I don't know who I am still. Like, I know who I am in terms of like Matt who goes to work and does this, but it's like deep down, like, who am I and what am I? What am I about? Like, why am I doing this? What am I hoping to achieve? What's the target? Like, do you want to be a fucking influencer? Do you know what I mean? No, like, you need an end goal in sight. You need to know what you want to be doing, and my potential. I feel like I've really damaged myself for a long time, and I've really fucking belittled myself, and I've really hurt myself and told myself that I'm no good to anyone. Like, no one wants to be with me, no one wants to be around me. I'm just a piece of shit. Do you know what I mean? So my potential has been lost for like 15 whatever years it was I was drinking and using. So having to re-find that potential and is refined a word?
Yeah, no, it's
refined.
Rediscover,
that's it. You can tell I went to comprehensive.
I didn't even get a GCSE, mate.
So yeah, it's a lot of like finding yourself, because like I remember when Rich London, when he come on to my show and said like it's like training your brain. And our sort of training stopped when we started using. So it's like you're training yourself to like learn what confidence is and how to like talk in this way, or how to act like this, and like what life's going to be throwing at you, the challenges that you might have to sort of undertake. So because we lost all that brain training, it's like we're missing some cells, and like we're having to retrain it again.
100%.
So that's how I feel at the moment, is because as much as I love doing what I'm doing, I still need to know my like, the purpose is to helping people, but then what's the potential? Like, what am I doing? Like, who am I doing it for? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of that it's a lot of working on yourself. And I hold my hand up, and I can be quite lazy in that. Like therapy, I was doing therapy, and I stopped doing therapy because sometimes it's very hard with a therapist that you don't feel you connect with, and didn't feel like I was connecting with her for months, and then it got down to like doing it once every 2 weeks, and it got down to doing it once a month, and I need someone to ask me questions, because I need a catalyst in me to like get deep and personal. If I've had a good week and you're asking me how I am, I'm going to tell you that I'm good. But am I good though? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like you need to like nigging away at stuff. So yeah, to answer your question, it's to find myself and find my full potential is the biggest challenge at the moment, and I haven't completed that yet.
But I think that's an exciting prospect, because like I don't think you ever will find that, and you ever will reach your full potential, because like we were both working down here, like our base levels were so fucking low, and it takes time for you to like get back up to here, and then you finally get back up to a normal base level, and then all of the stuff that you thought you enjoyed, and all of the stuff that you thought you loved, and you thought you loved your job, and you thought you loved your people in your life, you're like, fuck, like I'm not the same person I was when I was using. And you touched on it as well. It's like you go back to the age you was when you first started drinking.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when I feel like I'm like 2 years old again. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm coming up to 2 years and I feel like I'm a 2-year-old. Like I had to, exactly what you said, like learn how to look people in the eye and have a conversation because I couldn't do that without drugs or alcohol. Like there was a point in my life where if I wasn't fucked, I was like looking at you like this, like around the room, and I wouldn't be able to talk to you how we're talking now. I think it's exciting, man. And I think you should pat yourself on the back. Because you've come fucking, I didn't know you like that, but I feel like I do from how vulnerable you are and the conversation we're having, and you should be proud of how far you've come, like, and remind yourself.
I love being like this though, mate, because I find it's good therapy for me. You know? I've got no guilt. I've got nothing to hide behind. Do you know what I mean? Like I kind of see myself as that's like a big shell that's like being taken off my back now, and I sort of can walk a bit more back, sort of like, you know, shoulders back, and like sort of feel a bit like proud of myself.
Yeah,
because
you should.
I find it easy to talk about this sort of stuff because at the end of the day, like I need to get it. It's like a fucking like something you got a chesty cough and you just got to get all the shit out. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just that's how I feel. Like if I don't let it out, then it's just still gonna linger inside my body.
Yeah.
So that's why I enjoy doing these talks. That's why I enjoy like just talking to people about stuff. Like I say to people, I ain't got the fucking answers for everything. I'm not like the guru of sobriety, and there's so much more work that I need to be doing before I start offloading advice to like hundreds of people. I don't have the fucking credentials or anything like that. I've just got life experience, and if people can relate to anything that I'm talking about and it makes it easier for them to like come off the source or stop the substances, then that's me done. Do you know what I mean? I don't need a fucking grade A in fucking psychology and stuff. Like people can just relate to what I'm talking about.
Live the experience, mate.
Exactly.
Like, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier about like therapy. I also started therapy and had the exact same issue. And I opened up about my sobriety in that therapy session, and he was just like, "Oh, okay. Anyway, we're going to go back to this exercise again." And I was like, I need to talk to people that I can connect with on a deeper level who know what I'm going through. But lived experience is something you can't learn.
Of course.
No,
I mean? Because so, you're you, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like you've seen it through your own eyes.
And I think like, although like everybody's story is individual, also everybody's story is so the same. Do you know what I mean? There's so many similarities in everyone's story, or you'll say something which you think means one thing, but someone else will take in another way, and they'll put that into their life. So don't stop doing what you're doing, because it's
no for sick. Sure. No, I don't want to. Like I said to you the other day, I need to learn to stop getting disheartened by stuff, because it's like my friends say, they're like, are you more interested in like getting fucking likes and like numbers on social media, or is it the fact that you get these messages here and there being like, this has really helped me, and it's the messages. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like the annoying thing is social media just makes it more like you're more respected because you've got a blue tick, or you've got high, or your TikToks are like fucking hundreds of thousands of people. And I think I care more about sort of building a community.
Yes, of course.
Do you know what I mean? Like I still want to build like a big community, but I've got to remember that I'm still helping people no matter what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? As long as I keep this going and keep the things flying like yourself, like you keep going on with your stuff as well, like we are going to be helping people, and like we can make some changes, man.
Ready to change the world.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing is, you don't realise there's probably 5-6 people a day that are looking at your stuff right in the background, and they're not saying anything to you directly. You don't even realise the impact that's having. And then like when you start to think about it even more deeply, so you're impacting that one person's life who's having a better relationship with his missus, with his kids. He's now got a better relationship with work. He's doing better, which means that his employees are having a better version of him. So like, don't ever put down yourself on the impact you're having, the ones that you don't even realise.
So true. True. You don't even think about it that way. Do you know what I mean?
It's like reflecting is so important, and especially in sobriety, because I think like listening to you speak today, you were saying, like I've still got a lot of work to do. But think about Matt, who was scraping gear off the floor.
Yeah. I know.
And look at you now. So I think it's like such an important thing to do. Other question I wanted to ask was like, you said you're not ready to give advice to people, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So what would be like your advice for someone who wants to get sober but they don't know where to start?
I think the most important thing that I always say to people is you've got to know that you're ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've tried it. I did the whole 3 months here, 1 month here. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I won't drink this month. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll try not to drink over Christmas. I think you need to learn to, or like sort of realize that you're ready to do it, because I think if you put a strain in yourself when you're not ready to be doing it, then I think it can be more troublesome than you think. And I had that, because it's like, you know, if a hose pipe and you've got like, you squeeze it and it starts building up and building up and building up and building up. That's how I feel that it was with me. Like, I was so determined, like, I'm not going to do it and I'm going to make sure I'm doing this. But deep down, it's just like this want grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's just like when you're allowed to drink, it's like, I'm going to let loose. Talk to people, man. Like, I know it's very hard, but talk to friends, talk to family. Like, I just think I'm very fortunate. I've got a very good relationship with my parents, and I can talk about fucking sex. I can talk about drugs. You know what I mean? I'm so fortunate. But like with your friends, and also just do some fucking research. Like, there's so much out there to like look into, listen to. Like, you know, find podcasts that you can relate to. Find individuals that you want to follow. You know, because I know social media is such a big thing, but really like start to take time, get rid of people that are bad influences on you, and like start following people that are going to fucking get you up in the morning and like get you to do shit and experiment with stuff and bring some new ideas to your life. And I think it's also really important to remember, like I've been saying, is like, don't put too much fucking strain on yourself, man. Like, sobriety can mean different things to different people. Sobriety could be me cutting down from 3 glasses of wine to 1 glass of wine. Do you know what I mean? Like, and because it's a process.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people can't just do cold turkey. Like, I think, and also like AA and CA works for people. I tried it, and I'm probably gonna try it again at some point. But when I tried it the other week, I kind of felt that I'm too late in the game to be on it at the moment. It kind of felt very much like it's good to do it at the start of your sobriety. But it's worked for millions of people around the world. So, you know, that's something for definitely to sort of consider, like group meetings, communities that you can go and it is brilliant there. Like when I went, I talked, and it was great just to talk, and you got other people talking, and it's like a free space. It costs fuck all as well.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't
like
it?
I said to you, like rehabs, drug addiction centers, stuff like that, it can all be very elitist because, you know, some of it's well expensive. I went to Bali, like who can fucking, like, I didn't go for a rehab, but like the rehabs they have, it's like thousands and thousands of pounds. And I just think sometimes it's so elitist, this sort of stuff, to like help people, and like the healthcare system and stuff like that. It's just like, for the real help you need, it's going to cost a bomb. So stuff like AA and that, it can be so useful, or social media.
100%. Yeah, I think community is the biggest one. Like, I think realising you're not going through something alone just makes you feel normal, doesn't it? And I guess AA is like that. And I think you touched on it there. Just try everything. Like, there's no...
But don't put too much pressure on yourself to try and everything in one hit.
Yes,
do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I say, like, no, I know you wasn't referring to that, but sobriety, like I say to people, it's a marathon, it ain't a sprint.
Yeah.
If it's going to be for the rest of your life, then you've got the rest of your life to fucking deal with it and like try stuff. Don't try and do it like in the first year, like I thought you had to.
Yeah, don't expect it to be straight away the best thing in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, people think of, because that's another thing with Instagram, it's all fast fixes, like, get sober with me in 10 days and I'll show you. Yeah,
3 days.
It's like, and I feel amazing. It's like, no, you don't. Like, and you didn't. Maybe you do now, but it's really important to be like, it's okay to feel like shit through the whole thing. It's also okay to be like 10 years in, 2 years in, and be like, fucking, I'm having a wobble. Like, I want to have a beer today, or I want a big fat slug. Like,
it's normal.
It's normal.
It's
like
we were saying earlier, like, you've lived with this other person for a long time. It ain't just gonna fuck off. That person's still gonna be knocking about. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be like a mental ex that still sits outside your house. Do you know what I mean? Like, sort of like peering or trying to DM you on Instagram. Like, they're still gonna be present for a bit until they get the gist and fuck off. And this
it's a bit
is
like
how...
your skits, isn't it? Like when you say like you got your sesh little gremlin on your shoulder, and it's true. Like, sometimes something happens in your life and you want to hit the fuck it button. But it actually is so much more rewarding when you don't. Like, when you don't hit that fuck it button and you wake up next day and you're like, oh my God, I never woke up after doing loads of gear and drinking and been like, thank God I did that.
No, of course not.
Whereas I have woke up like for the last however many days fucking buzzing that I didn't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel great, and sobriety is amazing. Like, health wise, like the anxiety, the depression's fucked off. Like, my relationship with my family, so much better. Relationship with my friends. Like, I'm not this like like fucking ball in a china shop. Do you know what I mean? Like causing problems, going missing, doing this. Like dating is a lot better for me now. Like I actually have conversations with people, and it's not a load of shit. And I'm much more aware of myself and what I want and who I want to be. I think that's the most important thing, and who I want to attract into my life. Like I'm not just trying to look for a quick fix, a quick shag, a quick kiss, a quick relationship because I need someone to give me external validation. I'm actually looking for someone who can better me and I can fucking grow. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
100%. I think it's like, yeah, and also the maddest thing is like, well, my missus is gonna kill me for saying this, but like I met her when I was off my nut. But
no.
you know, but I'm saying to base your life partner choices on a situation where you're drunk or high is mad. Like you don't know that person. Luckily, she's been amazing and we've grown together and she's supported me and turns out we actually like each other without drugs and alcohol, which, you know, not everyone.
It's a plus point, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But like you said, you're getting to know people at face value straight away and you're cutting through the bullshit, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we've actually been talking for almost an hour. So
wow.
I've got a couple questions I like to ask at the end of every podcast.
Yeah.
And it'd be, what is the single best thing that sobriety's brought you?
Stability.
Yeah, love that.
That's what I feel. I feel very stable in my life for once. I don't feel that I know what I'm going to be around for tomorrow and I know I'm not going to let someone down for this. And I'm not, do you know what I mean? Like I feel so much more stable in my everyday life, and stability's then allowed me to then concentrate on what I want to achieve. Because I think when you're unstable, you're continuously falling about the place. How can you keep the direction and navigate yourself through life when you're just falling about the fucking gaff?
Yeah, 100%. And the final question is, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give to someone else at the beginning of their sobriety journey that you wish you'd received at the beginning of yours?
That's a good one. Do you know what? I think AA.
Yeah.
I honestly do. Like, I kind of wish that I did try it at the start of my sobriety. And I also wish, I don't know why I'm talking at the microphone. I also wish that I started documenting my sobriety journey of day one.
Yeah.
Instead of like nearly a year into it. Because I think when you're documenting something as important as that, and then you start seeing the changes in what you're doing and how you feel, I think they're so important. It's such a lovely feeling. Like I in my head, I'm like, I wish I'd have videoed myself at the start and then see how I was now and see what I was talking about then to now. And I just feel like I should have done that. I really do, because I think it's great. It's like a journal, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think you need to celebrate each day, mate. Like each day's a fucking like massive achievement, and you know, you've got through something, man. It's like people say, it's like a fucking superpower. Like you do feel a bit untouchable, and so you fucking should. Like a lot of these people have hit rock bottom, and they didn't think they were going to get out of that, and they thought they were going to lose everything, or they thought they were going to fucking die, or causing people pain all the time, and then all of a sudden, you've got rid of that fucking disease in your body, and you feel like a new person. Like you feel like rejuvenated. Like you can take on anything, happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's unreal. Yeah, I agree, mate. I think I never thought about it like that, but I kind of feel the same. I started really getting into it about 9 months to a year in.
Yeah.
And like, you know, all the people, when you say it like that, and all the people that have been close to you through that period and the change they see, and like when you look back at old photos, it's like you're a different person.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, well, thank you, Matt, for coming on.
Appreciate it, brother.
And thank you for being so open and honest. I think
like
the episode's going to help a lot of people. So
yeah, I hope so, man.
Yeah, nice one.
Thank
Cheers.
You, man.